Hi, welcome to Station 12. I'm Robin Richardson. I'm a firefighter and EMT here. Been here about 15 to 18 years at Station 12. Here at Station 12, we keep our dive boat operations vehicle as SR-12, which we carry our dive boat rescue equipment as well as our rescue boats. If you want to take a look inside, I'll show you some of the equipment and kind of what we do here at Station 12. Inside SR-12, we keep all the equipment that's needed for a dive rescue operation. We do underwater dives as well as swift water operations. We have equipment for both. Here in SR-12, we keep everything closed up so you don't see a lot of the detail equipment. But what you see out here is our obvious dive equipment. Our buoyancy and compensator vest is a vest that we wear that we attach our air bottles to. And what that vest allows us to do is to keep our divers at what we call neutral buoyancy. That means they don't float and they don't sink, but they can stay in one place in the water column. And the advantage to that is to enable our divers to work much more effortlessly because they're, in a sense, weightless. Those vests allow us to add air that's in our bottles or hold it up and actually expel air depending on how much air you need to keep your body neutral. We wear a weight belt that's a nylon belt that has big lead weights on it. And what that does is that enables us a body with a wetsuit, which adds buoyancy, to remain at neutral buoyancy. We have two sets of suits here on SR-12. We have a wetsuit, which is the more common neoprene suit that most people are most familiar with. And then we have what we call a dry suit, which is a much heavier duty PVC suit that has rubber seals at the wrists, legs, and neck. And what that does, that enables our divers to dive in much more harsh conditions. Here in Georgia, colder waters where our harshest conditions are. And what that does is it enables us to work in any condition that we're called upon to put divers in the water. Also, I mentioned swift water. Sometimes the swift dive operations doesn't really require someone to go under the water. Sometimes we have a flash flood or situation like that where we need divers or swift water divers in the water, but not necessarily underwater, tanks, etc. In that case, we use something more similar to a regular life jacket that most people are familiar with. These are swift water vests. They're a little thicker, a little more buoyant, have a few more pockets and a few more places to put additional equipment that we need in a swift water operations. Along with those, we use our helmets that you'll see on our swift water divers, as well as you'll see a lot more personnel at their side because it takes a lot more people to do a swift water operation than it is going to be with a dive. Here also on SR-12, we have it set up where our divers we move every piece of equipment off the truck as soon as we get to a scene, and our divers can actually get dressed and get their suits on and everything in here. What we do is we have big bags, preferably for each diver. And when that diver gets here, we have to make it happen very quick. So we have it set up to where those bags can be zipped open. We either have a dry suit or a regular neoprene suit ready for them. Boots, regulator, hoods, gloves, everything they need to do that dive operation and do it very quickly. We're able to get them in here, get them dressed, get them out the door, and we can go to work. I'm not sure if you can see it from our view, but if you can also see in SR-12 we keep a spare outboard motor. This is a jet drive motor. Our boats, as we'll see later, is a two-tiered system. We have a boat on top of a boat, which is very uncommon. The motor for the top boat goes here. We keep it off to the side so we don't have to run both motors at the same time on the trailer. It causes some problems we'll talk about further. This again is a jet drive as opposed to a propeller propelled motor. It actually can operate in skinny water, dirty water areas where a prop motor just won't work. So the county's provided us one of those, and we use it often. It works pretty good. Also in here, we keep all of our equipment in the event of a malfunction. We have a regulator go bad, a BC fest go bad, anything that can happen. Communications, all of our underwater communications equipment is on SR-12. We can actually talk to our divers in the water from the Incident Command Center. We're able to get this truck and the dive boats themselves to the scene very quickly and very efficiently due to the compact size of this truck as well as the maneuverability of our trailers. But if you want to, we'll step outside, we'll take a look at some of our equipment a little closer, and we'll take a look at those boats. Now that we're outside of SR-12, I've pulled some of the equipment outside and we'll take a little closer look at exactly what we're looking at. Again, when we send a diver down, we send him with a long list of equipment just to be able to maintain his ability underwater. Those again is a buoyancy compensator vest with an air bottle attached. And these are pretty heavy. If you think about it, you get in the water, it's going to make you want to sink. Well, that's not necessarily true because there's air in that bottle, and we can inflate or deflate these vests as we talked about earlier and maintain neutral buoyancy. Certainly we have our fins and our weight belts that we add as much or as little weight as we need with these lead weights to be able to keep our divers at a neutral buoyant position. Also, we have our mask and regulators, which are attached to our bottles and our vests. Here at Henry County, we do have the ability to talk and communicate with our divers even from the shore. And we do this with these communication devices that are on our masks. Like I said, again, we're breathing apparatus as well as our divers knowing where they're at, how deep they are, and how much air they have left in their system and how much time they have to work. Sometimes we send our divers from the boat itself. We'll find a target on the water and we'll send our divers from the boat, or we can send them from shore. When we send them from shore, we have an array of ropes on SR-12 that are very long, and it's at 2 to 4 foot intervals. We have loops tied in those ropes, so it enables a fireman to stand on the bank, put a diver in the water, and we'll establish a grid, what we call a grid, which is point A to point B. And we'll put that diver in the water, and this guy with the rope can stand here and let this diver go to point A, and we can give him a certain amount of tugs, depending on what we want that diver to do, and he'll turn around and go the other direction. When he gets to this other point over here, we'll give him another tug. At that point, we'll let out a loop. So we're doing like 2 to 4 foot lengths. We're just making a grid between 2 points and covering a spot, looking for a target, looking for a body, a victim, sometimes a weapon that was used in a crime, a variety of things that we look for. I mentioned earlier about the different suits we have. It's very important that we have the right equipment. I'm going to walk right here and show you compare our suits. Again, we have a dry suits, which is our most sophisticated types of suits. These are our divers get in these. When it's extremely cold, we have the ability to add a thermal layer, which is this layer here. They're able to wear this along with the dry suits. Keeps them dry, and it keeps them warm in very harsh conditions. These suits, again, seal at the neck, wrists, and ankles. They wear a boot here, have rubber that attaches here, and they have gloves, and sometimes they have to wear an additional boot depending on what the bottom contour is like. Now, in normal situations, we're able to wear what we call a wetsuit. Most people are familiar with those. It's a neoprene, generally it's 6 millimeter, that provides warmth and a sense of protection. Along with that, We have to wear gloves again. We have to wear a neoprene bootie that we wear in addition to our fins. So all this equipment works together to be able to accomplish your task. These are lightweight, they're easier, much quicker to get into. A dry suit operation, as you can imagine, is very difficult and time consuming to get our divers ready. Our wetsuit operations tend to move a lot quicker, and that's kind of what we're required to do or expected to do. We're going to take a look now at some of the boats and the equipment on the boats and how they're set up, and we'll go from there. Now let's take a look at our dive boats themselves. As you can tell, we use a double-decker boat trailer, which is very uncommon to begin with. We have our initial primary boat here on the bottom. Once we launch it, we have the option of launching another boat from up here. A lot of people may wonder how we do that. In simple, we basically pull these pins right here. Once we launch this bottom boat, we can pull a pin here and a pin on the other side. And we have a switch over there that's got a winch. And this winch will let the entire top boat lower into the water in a very controlled manner. We keep a motor permanently mounted to our primary boat just so that we can deploy in a hurry. And as you've already seen in SR12, we keep our spare jet motor, and it'll be attached to this boat once we launch it. Normally we can get everything done with this boat in a hurry, and this is the one that we try to deploy fast. You'll notice this right here is something different on these boats that are different than most boats you may see. What this rack does, it enables us to flip this rack over and outside the boat, and what that does is it's a bench. It's basically a seat for our divers. As we have divers in the water, whether they come up to rest, whether they come up to board the boat, or whether we have a victim in a board or a victim of any sort, we can bring them to this rack, and actually crew from the boat can actually aid them and get this victim or this target into the boat. Gives our place for our divers to rest between dives, and that's something a little different on these boats that you see that you don't normally see on the water. The one thing about these boats, they're built by a company called Rescue One, and they're called connector boats. And the reason they're called connector boats is upon further investigation, you can look here and see that there's a specialized rib that runs the length of the boat, length and in the front. And what it does, it's got a round section here and a concave section here. What this allows us to do is to take another boat of its same manufacturing type and put them side by side, and they will actually, the round part will actually fit into the concave area, which allows these boats to be connected together, hence the name connector boats. Not only can we connect these two, but other agencies with similarly designed boats can attach to us also. Let's say, for instance, we need a bridge to maybe get some flooded victims off of an island that's flooded, maybe get those people over to dry land. We can actually connect as many of these boats as we need to connect two pieces of dry land. So we can make a bridge, we can make a barge if we need to move a piece of heavy equipment from one point A to point B. We can actually put a bunch of these together and make a barge, and they can all be run by one motor. So the advantages there are obvious, and they really, the boat itself is very stable. You can put as many people as you want on one side or the other, and it's not going to flip with you. It's very, very stable. It's flat bottom design, and it works very well for what we do. These boats also offer the ability to remove the seats. You have pins you can take. This bench and this bench both can actually come out. If we have to move heavy equipment, a lot of victims, a lot of people, we can actually take these out, throw them in the water. They'll float when we come back and get them later if we don't need that bench space. Inside there, it offers storage space in both of them if we need them. And again, they are foam filled. If we have to throw them overboard, they'll float. Moving a little further back, it's our console. All of operating controls are back here. We have another rack that's similar to up here. This rack's function is we'll raise it, and it has lights on it, so if we're moving in low lit conditions, we'll have the ability to be able to light that area up to a certain extent. Also on our console, we have our Lowrance sonar. That's been a new addition in the last few years, and what that allows us to do, say for instance we're looking for a victim, a drowning victim, maybe we're looking for a murder weapon perhaps, maybe we're looking for something thrown in the lake that we need for whatever reason. This unit allows us to see extreme detail underwater. It has a regular chirp sonar, then it has what they call a downscan sonar, and what that does, chirp sonar allows you to look at objects vaguely on the bottom. It shows those objects at depth, bottom contour. The downscan, the ability to use downscan allows us to narrow that cone in which we can see, but it's great detail. I mean, you can see leaves on trees, twigs on branches. Comes in really handy when we're looking for a possibility of a drowning victim. Certainly comes into play when we're looking for something as small as a handgun. On a hard bottom, they really show up very well. It gives us the ability to determine water depth, bottom contour, water temperature, which tells us what kind of equipment our divers need to be wearing upon entering the water. All of this is run by a 4-stroke Mercury outboard motor. It's quiet. It's very fuel efficient. The boats have bilges and spare batteries. Everything we need to run both boats are in here, and we're able to deploy these boats pretty quick. We train on them a lot to make sure that we can deploy them very quickly. It's on a tandem wheel trailer. It pulls easy. Sometimes we have to drop these off at a boat ramp and then pull the equipment over to the scene itself. Sometimes that might be a mile or more difference between where the scene is and where we need to be able to launch our boats from. So at times we've arranged for separate tow vehicles, and we'll keep those here at Station 12 also. Here's a close look at the sonar system that we use here at Henry County. It's the Lowrance HDS-12 sonar system, and it operates off a 0.1 antenna, which is a round little white puck that you may see on the back here. That's an antenna and a GPS device that enables this unit to find certain areas and certain targets down to the square, right to the exact location. The options that we have in this unit, for one, is a charting, and what it does is enables us to find a waterway, find out exactly where this unit right here is sitting on that waterway, and as we maneuver throughout that waterway, it lets us know exactly where we are in that lake, river, pond, and it certainly comes in handy. The sonar is the chirp sonar here is a basic sonar that shows us our bottom, our depth, our water temperature, and certain things that are going on between the surface and the bottom itself. You can see, in general, it gives you a good idea. The one advantage to this unit is our what we call structure scan or down scan. As you can see, it's a different view of what we just saw, but it's much more detailed. It shows our surface and it shows our bottom, but you can see your details much better, and it enables us to find smaller, minute units, smaller bodies, smaller tools, smaller a gun or a knife or something on the bottom. It also enables us to operate the boats in safe depths. Shows that what our divers are up against before they actually drop off the boat and go under. and it gives us an idea of everything, all of our different hazards, whether it be stumps, logs, trees, fishing line, gas lines, electrical lines, anything that we may need to know before we drop a diver in. It lets us know. The unit's a few years old. We've used it a lot, got a lot of training on it, and these guys have really been able to put it to good use. And it's a great addition to our dive boats.